Good morning. Hi. Welcome to Maine in November. What a beautiful day we've got going here today. Have you been looking for a property up here in the state of Maine surrounded by woods, wildlife, and waterways? Well, if you have been, come along with us today. Emily, Pond, and I are going to go take a look at this full-scribe log cabin on 128 acres of forest land. And make sure you stick around later on after we look at the cabin. We're going to show you the land and eventually a nice little brook that runs through the property. So Emily, where are we at here in Carroll Plantation?
Yeah, here in Carroll Plantation, we are 35 minutes from Lincoln, and Lincoln would be your next bigger town with your grocery stores. There's a Walgreens, a Walmart, some hotels, restaurants. There's a hospital. The next big town would be Bangor. You are an hour and 15 minutes from Bangor. In Bangor, you've got some of your bigger box stores. You've got a Home Depot, a Lowe's. There's a Sam's Club and a BJ's. And then you've also got some entertainment at the Waterfront Concert Series. We are 3 hours from Portland, and Portland would be the next big transportation hub, where you've got your Amtrak goes out of Boston, out of Portland, sorry. And also you've got an airport there. And then we are 4 hours and 45 minutes from Boston.
Perfect. Carroll Plantation's got less than 200 people population, so it's kind of a real rural town.
Yes.
And there's a lot more woods and wildlife than people, which is kind of nice.
And a lot of the people that have lived here like their whole lives. So, obviously they think it's a great place to be.
Mm-hmm. Hey, what about you folks? Any of you have been down here, the town of Carroll Plantation, the Lakeville area, the Down East Lakes region of Maine? If you have, share that in the comments below. From here, Emily, we got all kinds of recreation. What's the best thing you can think of right offhand from here?
Well, a lot of people like to go ATVing. You can hit the four-wheeler trails, the ATV trails from the property. They're not on the property, but you can go down this road here and get to the ATV trails. And then a few miles down the Lowell Lake Road, you can get onto the snowmobile trails.
Yeah, and there's lots of riding in this area. And she was talking about Lowell Lake Road, which brings you down to Lakeville. And this area is just rich with lakes. We've got Lowell Lake down there, which gives you access into Junior Lake, which eventually you can take a boat from Junior down into West Grand over into Scraggly Lake. Thousands of acres of water. And a lot of that is part of the Down East Lakes Land Trust and the Sunrise Forest, which is hundreds of thousands of conserved acres of land that'll never be developed. Most of it's open for hunting, recreation, trail riding, skiing, whatever you want to do there, with the exception of the small areas that they're doing active logging operations. So that's a really nice feature of this area. So let's go inside, Emily, and have you show me around the inside of this cabin.
So the cabin is 440 square feet.
Beautiful full scribe. I think those are pine logs. They look it. Wow.
So you've got this really nice porch that you can sit on in a summer night and just listen to nothing because there's really not a lot of people that live in this area. There's a few people along the road, but there's really not a whole lot of people out here. So it's going to be really peaceful and quiet, and you'll sit on the porch and just listen to nature. And
this is all screened in, so insects won't bother you. And one thing I noticed when we drove in here, Emily, was these big overhangs. Because this is a natural wood building, and it's been here for a while, it looks like it's in great shape. It's got some weathering to it, but that could easily be pressure washed and brought back to almost new condition. But these overhangs have kept the water off this building, and it's in great condition. So what do we got in here?
So they heat the cabin with this wood stove, and they actually had this going the last time I was here, and this little wood stove heats this whole thing really well. It was quite warm in here. They are leaving the old cook stove here. They don't use that right now. It's more just for looks, but I think somebody probably could bring it back and use it if they wanted to, but otherwise they use this for heat. So they've got a hand pump here. There's a dug well out back, but because of our drought, that has gone dry. So, currently they don't have one that's working, but I would think in the spring that may actually come back. I mean, I can't obviously attest to that, but it's a possibility. Otherwise, you could have a well drilled here. The water from the sink goes out a pipe into a gray water system in the back. So you do, if you say you drilled a well, you'd have your hand pump at least, and that way you could plumb it in other ways. Right now, she actually uses this tub over here to take baths in. They were running water, and she was taking baths in the tub.
Heating up the water on the wood stove.
Yep.
Yeah, take an old-fashioned bath in a steel tub.
Right. Yes.
Perfect.
And so you do have power at the road. They have not hooked the power into the cabin because they actually liked the rustic feel and the off-grid feel. But you absolutely could run the power over here to the cabin, and you could, have power here. They do use a generator. So they do use that to have lights and stuff like that. But
there's no electric plumbed into this building.
No, you would.
Yeah.
They currently just use extension cords. So yeah, you would actually have to have a few outlets put in, but overall,
maybe some oil lamps.
Yes.
I mean, it's really, this is that traditional full scribe cabin that you found in the old woods camps, but this one's obviously a lot nicer than a woods camp would have been.
And that's, I think, what they were going for. They really like the rustic, and it is beautiful in here. If you look at the logs, all these logs in here have been treated, so everything looks great.
What would you do, folks? Would you go off grid, keep it completely off grid, no solar, nothing, put solar power in, or hook to the grid out on the road? Share that in the comments down below.
I just want to point out that this, basically the foundation material for this cabin is they've got a rock perimeter, and then the logs sit on the rocks.
We're outside here now, the cabin, and boy, the part about this property I like the best, the cabin's really cool, but this land is exceptionally good land. We've got 128 acres by survey here.
Yep.
The survey Emily's got on file, she'd be happy to send it to you. Looking around the cabin, we got apple trees amongst the forest here, and you can tell from the ground that this was farmland at one time. According to the NRCS soil map, most of this, about 70% of this lot, is either Bangor, Dixmont, or Thorndike loams, and those loams are great for farming, especially up here in the level areas, which have obviously been cleared of a lot of the rocks in the ground, which Maine's got, that's our number one crop after potatoes, I think, is rocks. But this part of the land is mostly hardwood. Let's take a walk out back here and check out the forest. So you can see these fields have grown up, and they've grown up to mostly maple and birches. As we get down into the land on the slopes and stuff, I think we're going to find a lot more softwoods out here.
And I just want to point out that they currently have a privy that they use.
Yeah, they could easily get a septic in here, though.
Yes.
The soils here look really good. You'd want to make that probably part of your offer if you're going to buy it, if you want to put a septic in, but shouldn't be too much of a trouble getting it in here. But we got apple trees out back, still scattering through the property. It's really beautiful piece of land. Well, Emily and I, we walked back here to the south about 400 or 500 feet from the cabin, and we've come to a stone wall. And this would have been the extent of the field that the cabin sets in, because that's all grown back to forest for the most part. There's one little clearing off the road, out off of Brown Road.
Yes.
But a Lowell Road. Lowell Road. Yeah, Brown Road's down the street. Yeah, but this stone wall is a pretty good indicator this was some sort of farm at one time. On the other side, it's more natural forest land, so this won't be as good for farming, but anything up here could be reclaimed and replanted to farm. We'll try to give you an estimate of how much that is, but I'm guessing there's probably 10, 12 acres here anyway, maybe more than that was field. All right, we'll take you down in the woods a little ways further, then we're going to check out that brook a little bit later. All right, we're back here now in the old forest section, and what Emily and I are finding in here is it's getting to be more of a mixed wood type lot. There's some balsam fir and a little bit of pine growing in this. We got some ash, poplars, more maple, a little bit of everything growing in here. And I'm guessing that this may have been timber harvested probably 30 years ago.
Yep.
And I think I remember it was, and I was telling Emily the other day, I actually sold all of this land back in the 1980s. There was almost 500 acres here total at that time. It was one owner. And it's kind of fun to come back 30, 40 years later and
see what it looks
like. And this did have a timber harvest shortly after it sold back in the 80s and early 90s. And it's growing back very nicely. And that's because we got good soil.
Right.
All right, well, hang around. We're going to go find that brook and show you the frontage on that.
At this property, the cabin sits at an elevation of about 780. And at the bottom of the land, when you get down close to the brook, it gets down to 520.
Yeah, it's quite an elevation change, although it's kind of gradual because it's a big lot, so you don't really notice it that much.
Yeah, you're not going to, just fall off a cliff or anything.
Cliff, exactly. And that south end of the lot, the lowest end of the property, that's just off the Duck Lake Road that takes you down to Duck Lake. And Duck Lake is only like 1.5 miles from the driveway out here down to the boat landing on Duck Lake. So if you're into boating, you can be there pretty quick.
Measured from land ID, you've got approximately 1,300 feet of road frontage. And as I mentioned before, you do have power at the road.
Well, you're in there, maybe going to need one pole to get in.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or you can run it underground. They actually talked about if they had done it, they would have run it underground.
Buried it. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And keep in mind that road frontage was an estimate. If you want to know exactly, we got the survey. We'll send you a copy of that so you can look at all the distances on the survey plan. All right, I think it's time to go for a longer walk, go check out the brook. Emily and I have made it down over here to the western boundary of the property, and this is really cool. There's an old stone wall that neither one of us knew was here, but we just kind of stumbled onto it.
Pretty much fully intact.
Yeah, it looks like it was almost like the one over in Rome. So this would be the west boundary. It appears to be. It's marked, and the survey overlay shows it being right here.
And if you listen, you can already hear the stream running if you listen closely from right here.
Let's say we're about 100 feet from the brook right over here. Let's take a walk over here. And as we walk through here, look at the size of some of these trees. We got some hemlock in here that are probably 200 years old. Beautiful. Nice big pine. Just gorgeous piece of land. Pretty rocky. Oh, look at that waterfall right there, Emily.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
This is a place where your kids can come down and get their graduation pictures taken. A beautiful setting. Watch the rocks, so when you're walking through here, remember we talked about that earlier. Yeah, look at this. What a beautiful brook. If I owned this property, I'd probably build a trail down here and put a little cabin
right by the water.
75 feet off the stream, which would probably be the setback here. I think it's 75 feet off the stream.
Well, and this stream is still running really good considering the drought that we've had this year. So
yeah,
I would think on a good year, this stream would actually flow
real good. Yeah.
Spectacular.
Well, it's the outlet of Lowell Lake.
Yes.
So it kind of...
My husband and I actually own a property on Lowell Lake, which is just down the road here.
You got a camp there?
Yeah.
You do? Great. Well, take a look at this brook, folks, while you're here. Make sure you come check it out. Well, Emily, neither of us fell in the brook, although I tried and so did Joey. 1,850 feet roughly of frontage on this brook. Yep. Yeah.
We measured that off land ID.
Yeah.
So it doesn't actually say it in the deed, but we measured it. Right.
And of course, this isn't a boundary. It runs through the property, kind of runs in the north end, runs out the south.
Yeah, you can see the rock wall up here on the hill.
Hey, would you trade the sound of this babbling brook for the street noise in the city? If you would, smash that like button down below.
Okay, so the purchase price on this property is $249,000. The yearly taxes are $1,439, and this property is not in tree growth, which is a big plus because a lot of times landowners that have pieces of land this large will have it in tree growth, but that does not have that restriction. As we mentioned before, there's 1,850 feet of frontage on this brook running through the property.
We got direct access to snow sled trails, ATV trails, some beautiful forest. If you're a hunter, there's all kinds of places you could have put a food plot in here. Good soils up on the hill. Good soils everywhere. They're just rocky. What else can we tell you, folks? Come on up. Give Emily a call. Her number's here on the screen. Come up. She'll show you the property. I think you're going to find this is probably one of the better priced properties of quality land and a nice little 440 square foot scribe log cabin for you to start. Good place to get started. Maybe make it your own.
Yes. Thanks for joining us.